Hello, and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Gracia. Thank you for joining me. Tonight I have a really great show. I got three fantastic guests. They're part of the comic book school. And I'm sorry, I'm looking down. I'm looking at my Cintiq, where I have an anthology we're going to look at later called the Creator Connections Panel 1. It's a great anthology. We're going to look at it, but we're going to look at the people behind it who put it together and I'm looking forward to this because I've gotten the opportunity to chat with them all before in the past, not on the show, but just kind of behind the scenes, and they're all great people. So let me first bring on the creator of Comic Book School, Buddy Scalera. Hello, Buddy.
Hey, how are you, Michael? Nice to see you there.
Nice to see you. Next, we're going to bring on Ari Rubin. Hello, Ari.
Hey, guys. How you doing? How you doing, Michael?
Good. How you doing?
All
and
right.
then we got Dee Alley.
Hey,
hello.
How you doing?
How you doing? Thank you all for joining me and taking time out of your schedules to hang out with me tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, anytime. And so we got a comment from Mike Lopez saying hello. Hello, Mike. Mike Wilkie says hello. Hi, Mike there. Two great guys who are watchers of the show and comic art. Well, Mike Lopez is a promoter for shows and is an independent writer, and Mike Wilkie does single panel gags. So they're great guys to have part of this viewing tonight. So now for those who watch and know me regularly, know I'm a big fan of comics. Obviously, I'm an artist myself, a creator, but I just love comics. I love the thought that you're just limited to your skill with a pencil and your imagination. So whatever you can do with that, you could create anything. And I love independent comics. I think some of them are the best out there. The show's about promoting indie guys, and we got some what you guys do and what you guys did with the anthology and bringing indie creators together. I thought it was fantastic. So So first of all, thank you for doing that. But let's get you guys. I want to start with just a quick question, but first say hi to Joe Ryan, regular viewer. Joe's a fantastic guy, regular watcher, creator himself, Kubert School graduate. But first, before we get into the comic book school and all this, can you guys give me a little background on you about not just your work in the comic world, but like what was your inspirations? What comics did you love that inspired you to get into the comic world? Whoever wants to answer first can go.
Come on, Dee, you hit it first.
Oh, you unmuted first. I thought you were gonna go.
No, I saw. No, it's all about the best people go first, and I go last.
Okay, so I'm not gonna argue with you. So I actually didn't get into comics until this past anthology. I have always been an artist. I've always drawn. I don't know that I ever really realized that I drew sequential art when I was a kid. I always thought of animation. I always wanted to be a cartoonist. Looney Tunes, Merry Melodies, that kind of thing. I always loved cartoons. And so I would draw cartoon. I didn't know how to animate yet. And so I would draw, comics thinking this is going to be an animation someday. And so it wasn't until this past year that I look back at a lot of my art and it was comics. But I grew up in a very sort of gender traditional household. So comics were for boys. So I wasn't allowed to read most of the comics. I was allowed to get a Betty and Veronica, digest sometimes on car trips, or if my brother was done with them, I could read his comics if he let me, kind of thing. Yeah. So, but I had favorite comics and I used to take them into my room when no one was looking and draw from them. And I would draw X-Men and I would draw Storm was my favorite because she was just out of this world, amazing for me. And, but I drew everything, everything I could get my hands on. And then I went through a lot of stuff in the past couple of years personally and went to Comic-Con in 2019 and met Buddy. And I was like, I'm just kind of in a creative rut. And he was like, well, why don't you just make a comic? And I was like, because I've never done it before. He goes, first time for everything. And I was like, okay. And so, I got into comic book school and we started the 8-Page Challenge. So that's my background.
That's awesome. Let me ask you, did you get to do any animation ever?
Yes, actually, about 5 years ago, I was working, I started data entry during the recession, project management, and I met a guy at my last job who started an animation group inside this ad agency that we were working in. And he said, if you can find your replacement as my project manager, you can animate. So I've now been animating professionally for about 5 or 6 years.
That's fantastic. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Ari, you want to go next?
Sure. I'll let Buddy Beck clean up. For all his modesty, he just wants to be the cleanup hitter. So I'm a writer, and I write in a whole variety of different genres. And actually, I got into comics later than the others. I have short stories. I was a writing major in college. I published my first short story in 2002. And I always liked comics, but I wasn't initially thinking about writing in comics. And I liked comics as a kid. My orthodontist had Frank Miller's Daredevil in the waiting room and some old Thor books. It was great,
That's awesome.
These are the subscriptions he had that you went in there, and there was Daredevil, there was Punisher, there was whoever was doing Thor at the time, and there was Archie, which wasn't really my thing, but I kind of fell out of it as I grew up. That was my 7th and 8th grade, and I really liked it, but I didn't really continue with it until about the time I was graduating from college. I had started reading Neil Gaiman, and I had gotten into him through his prose books. So I had read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Then I read, I was like, what can you read after Hitchhiker's Guide? The next thing they recommend to you is Good Omens. And I got into two of my favorite, writers, ended up being two of my favorite writers ever, Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. And because I was into Neil Gaiman then in my 20s, I started reading his comic stuff also because, I wanted to read everything he had written. So I started getting back into comics through Neil Gaiman. Through Neil Gaiman, I read a lot of the other Vertigo books. I read a lot of the old Garth Ennis books. I got into the Alan Moore stuff and, and then back into other stuff that I remembered from like the Daredevil that I used to like, and those books that I used to read when I was a kid because I was in the comic book store anyway. There was this big comic book store, Jim Hanley's Universe on 34th Street, that I had to pass every day going from the subway to my office where I was working at the time. It's an awesome store. And they had this one guy who I would tell him, like, I remember reading this book around 1988 or so, and there was like Daredevil encountered the Punisher on this thing, and I had no other information about it. He'd be like, oh yeah, that's it. And he'd go in the back and he'd pull out the back issue for me. And like I was able to get back at, like, he was unbelievable, this guy. They used to call him Golden Age. I have no idea what his real name was. I don't know if any of you guys encountered him in the store, but he was the best. But anyway, as a young writer, I was, I went to hear Neil Gaiman give a reading, and if you haven't done that, you should, because he is awesome live. I've seen him about 7 or 8 times already.
That's awesome.
And he was promoting Sandman Endless Nights at the time, if you remember that book. And I remember going up to him after waiting on the massive Neil Gaiman line, and I said, I told him I had Sandman Endless Nights because that's what he was promoting, and he could sign one other thing. So I brought Stardust also. It was actually the novel Stardust, not the one that he did with Charles Vess, but the prose novel Stardust. And I told him, that this is exactly the kind of book that I wanted to write at the time. He said the reason that he wrote it was because he wanted to read a book like that, and no one else was writing it. That was really awesome for me to hear. And,
that's awesome.
As a young writer, that was very inspirational to me. Around the same time, a couple of years later, I had this story in my head, and couldn't make it work as a prose writer. I just couldn't make it work. And then I was thinking about some of the comics I was thinking about when Neil Gaiman said, you know what, this isn't a prose story. This is a comic story. I better figure out how to do this. And I started going to New York Comic Con at that point. I started going to Buddy's panels. I looked in the back of the collected Sandman, I think it's volume 3, where it had one of his scripts, because that was the only place you can get one of those things at the time. So between doing research like that and trying to find scripts and going to Comic-Con and basically Buddy's panels, that's how I got into writing comics. And I would say that to this point, I started publishing short stories that I put into literary journals and things. And about half the artists that I've worked with, I've met through the Creator Connections panel at, that Buddy runs, or through the Creator AfterCon that sort of came out of that after the show.
Interesting. That's great. I will say, and I know this is a compliment to Buddy, that I have sat in the audience on the Creator Connection and met some great people. And when I was the art director for Pronto Comics, we actually sat on the panel and looked at artwork. So it is a great thing. So anybody who's watching who hasn't been to New York Comic-Con or has been, or when it starts up again, and you're able to go into a convention and Buddy's doing this, go to this panel. It's probably one of the best panels in the entire show throughout the weekend.
And I would say that was actually an understatement, Michael. I would say you're not playing it up enough.
I'm sorry. What else? Any other adjectives you could use that I haven't used?
I would turn to Ari for that. He's my adjective guy.
So we'll say stupendous as it is.
Stupendous. Well played. Ari wins tonight. That's it. The rest of us are going home. Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night. So I just want to quickly, before I ask you the same question, but I just want to give a shout out to Tim Jones, another great cartoonist out there. Does a strip called Sour Grapes. It's like a 3-panel comic strip, humor strip type of thing.
I love that you know all of the people that pop into your comments queue.
I try to. I try to know everybody.
To me, that's a great host.
Thank you. Thank you. I really try to get to know everybody who watches. The more fans I get, the more I try to interact with them. I think it's important too. And these guys have become my friends, and some of them were friends of mine before they even came out, but they love watching, not because of me, but because of the guests I have on. And I'm always bringing something. I try to bring something new and entertaining to the groups here that are watching.
Well, welcome everybody.
Thank you. So, Buddy, the same question to you. What kind of got you into comics, inspirations, things like that?
Ari and Dee, they could just take a nap for a little while. My mom got me into comics when I was little, but at a time when comics were terribly uncool, and I kept it secret for many, many years. And then cars and girls became far more important, and then I went away to college, and I hadn't even thought about comics other than they were a thing jammed away in a corner. And then during college, I became interested in comics, and one of my journalism majors, this was at Hofstra in New York, mentioned that he was interning at Marvel Comics. And I was like, oh, do you draw? And he said, no, I'm an intern. And he completely opened my world. And at that point, I sort of set a flag, and I was either going to work professionally in automobiles or work professionally in comics. And, New York was closer than Detroit. And I just set out to be a journalist and use the only thing I knew how to do, which was to write a lead or a feature. And just every chance I got, I worked for the newspaper. Every chance I got, I slipped in something about comics. And then I started working for the fanzines, the Price Guide, eventually broke into Wizard. And Wizard was where comic book school started as this embryonic idea that if you remember, Wizard magazine had Brutes and Babes.
Yep.
Bart Sears would do this educational column, and I wanted to put that up there as a resource. I was allowed to pull things out of the Wizard archives and post them online, and then they said we couldn't for whatever copyright reason, so I made up Wizard School. And essentially, I was inviting comic book creators to critique art. So you would submit your art and you would get a critique from Tony Daniel. Ari would submit a script and he'd get a review from Mark Waid. Todd McFarlane wrote a column for me, and Brian Polito, and so many top creators were just so happy to be doing things online. It was so early days. And then at some point, Wizard bought the Wizard World Chicago first year, and they were like, oh, you have to host panels. I'm like, I don't know anything about hosting panels. So I created the Wizard School panel, and actually Randy Stradley, Dark Horse, just about retiring now, was my first guest ever in an educational panel.
Really?
And yeah, a couple of years ago. So I just kind of carried on. It's almost 25 years ago, and then evolved. I've been all over to different parts of the country, to different cons. And then when New York fell in our backyard, it was very interesting. I don't even know if I ever told this to Dee and Ari. The first year, they didn't have much programming. So they gave me 3 7-hour days. I had a Friday, Saturday. No, not 3. Saturday and Sunday. I had Saturday and Sunday. And I just booked people, and we just ran. It was like we had a little party.
Yeah.
And we just wrangled pros. And then year after year, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And but over the past couple of years, the tone has changed at the cons, right? The focus of the kinds of guests that you have, and the focus of the types of people that go. So less and less programming for educational. And I think 2019 was the time I really looked at the writing on the wall and said, I'm not sure what the commitment will be in the future to educational programming. And I've been thinking about a community or something. And when Dee caught up with me, I was just struck. She would just seem like a really nice person, but lost. Like, I want to do something. I don't know how to do it. And I'm like, well, you do it. And she was originally, and I forget how many pages or issues you wanted to do, but you were like, oh, I'm going to do like a 3 issue. I'm like, no, just do 8 pages. It's harder than you think. And then she told me that in her profession, she spent a lot of time plotting out animation. You got to think. You just don't start drawing. You got to plan it. And I said, well, plan it out. And so she sent out her plan, and I was impressed that she followed up. And I was like, well, let's do this with other people. I'm more or less pretty sure that's how we evolved it. Dee, was just organic. And then we were doing it. We thought, well, let's do these, and maybe we'll do an anthology. We'll publish other people. I'd always hoped to be able to publish some indie creators. And Dee was like, wait, what? We're doing a book? And I'm like, yeah. We are diametrically opposed. I just start doing things. I shoot the arrow straight up in the air, Michael, and then I draw a bullseye on the ground wherever it lands. Like, that's it. That's how I do it. But she like,
and then I have to move the circumference of the earth and change the winds to make sure that arrow hits the target, because it's going to go where it's going to go.
Well, but it happened, and I think, and I'll end with this. I mean, Dee and I were thinking, okay, well, we'll have her story. I'll do a story. It'll, we'll pull something together. If we have 2 or 3 stories, Ari, Dee, what was our final page count and number of creators in this?
144 pages. And
33 creators, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
33 creators. And Michael, I think 28 of them, this was their first credit.
Really?
So we were really, really surprised ourselves. And in our journey, and just to be on shows like yours talking about what we did is so exciting, right? That people, it touched a nerve. Like, people are like, yes, we need a place for people to level up to the next level. And I'll leave it with this. We also kept in mind the mission of Comic Book School is to educate. It's about the craft and business of making comics. So we never lost sight. It wasn't just an anthology. Submit us your stories. We'll put them out in the world. We were like, no, this is an educational journey that we do together as a community. And that was very important to us. That mission was always front and center.
No, and that's
I don't have short answers, Michael. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. That's a great answer there. I mean,
I forgot the short answers.
Well, I'll be honest. My next question was going to be, how did Comic Book School form? But you already told me that. So
actually, your third answer is, do you have any short answers? I'm like, I got nothing.
But yeah, but I think that's great. I mean, I work with kids, adults, different age groups, and I teach mostly how to make comics, how to draw, how to animate. I mean, my background's also in animation. I've done a lot of different things. So, I travel different places, schools, libraries when I can. And I know I'm not the only cartoon educator out there, and to have other people doing it in different ways, because I'm going out and teaching people how to draw. Usually I'm not sitting down teaching them, here's the process. Well, I do talk about how to make a comic and stuff, but I'm not actually putting something together for them, which is what you guys did. You kind of gave them the process and and I'm assuming this, tell me if I'm wrong, you kind of worked as the art director and the editor and kind of helped them learn, correct? Through the process?
Well, we mostly gave them the steps. So a lot of it was like, we're going to put all these steps out there, and if you follow the steps, then you'll have a comic. And we built these community forums where people could post their work. And as a community, we went in and we gave each other feedback. So it was much more of a community effort than somebody directing.
Okay.
So it was some people who were experienced and had 2 or 3 comics out. Some people like Buddy who've been in the industry forever. We had guest speakers come and talk about during each part of the process, like, I'm an artist and this is how I do my thumbs, or I'm an editor and this is how I get my story writers to write the script. And so we had a lot of informational things, and it was kind of what you took from it. And so when we got to the end, we were amazed by the talent that came in. I mean, this wasn't junior level stuff. This was high end stuff.
Not at all. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I've looked through this. I have read almost all of them. I haven't had a chance to finish them, but I'm impressed, especially after you tell me this is the first credit for a bunch of them.
Yeah.
The work that I'm seeing, the level of quality that came out in art, writing, colors, just gorgeous all around. I'm sorry to interrupt, but continue.
No, it's okay. But that's basically what we did. Is we said, we're going to show you how to do it. So come do it. And then a lot of people did. We had a lot of community feedback. We had a lot of interaction. Ari loves to talk about how the pros came on and made themselves available to us. So I'll let him talk about that because he's good at it. But it was a group effort, from this idea that Buddy sparked with me and with a couple other people at the con. And once I built the schedule, we just kind of rolled with it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and just add that Buddy did a series of blog posts for each step. So when it was time to do, say, your plot, Buddy put his plot that he did for his Avengers story with his feedback from his editor. When it was time to do the script, he put the script for the same story. Ron Lim did the pencils for that story, and he had Ron Lim's pencils. He did a blog post about that, and so on, all the way through the process, so that there was this blog post at the start of every step. Additionally, some of those people, we had Ron Lim, we had Darren Sanchez, who was the editor for that story at Marvel. We had Kathy Kirch, who was a writing professor at Columbia University. They came on and did these seminars. And what's great about them, and what I always say, is that if you've been to one of Buddy's panels, aside from Creator Connection, he does this kind of thing at the cons where you bring up, we've all been to, or many of us have been to, educational panels at cons where you hear somebody talk and you get to line up at the microphone and you maybe get to ask one question, or you're too scared to ask your question, or 2 weeks later you thought of the question you really should have asked, but the con is over, because that's how it works. And creators are all introvert. Many of us are introverts, and the great thing about this was that many of those creators had their own personal subforum where you could go on after. So not only did you get to watch them, and if you happen to think about the question live, of course, ask it live. It benefits the whole group when someone asks the question, that kind of thing. But if you had a question 2 weeks later, or now you were there about how to write a script, and now I'm in the middle of writing a script, and let's say I have a question, I could post it onto the forum and get feedback from the pro at that point, which makes it, in a way, it makes it an even better educational experience than you would just have during your hour or hour and a half con when you have to get out for the next panel to come in.
Yeah, and I think one of the great things that everybody realized was that we were learning together. I have been in comics a long time. This experience was new to me. So I think once we recognized that we were in a learning journey together, and that everybody had something to contribute, people felt more confident. They were saying, look, this story needs work, or have you considered making an adjustment to this coloring element? And I think what people have to recognize is that sort of working together, when you make a friend, a real friend, and it's not just strictly, I need you, so you're going to do this thing for me, and you start building that relationship, those are the people that will support you and cheer you on when you have something that comes out. Creator Connection, as you know, Michael, has always been about just network, just meet people. Yeah. And if you meet people, you might be surprised that they're not just there to draw your story. They share an interest, a passion, a very vertical passion, and I think that's what came through on the boards. And let's face it, this was 2020. It was a tough year, highly political, lots of change in the country, a pandemic that we're still suffering through. This was a connection for many people to the outside world. I think it just happened to be that Dee and I thought about this in October of 2019. We started to build the team. We had to think about infrastructure and platform and message boards and all these other things, kicking it off in January, just at the time where people were starting to have to stay inside.
Yeah.
So I think in a way it forced people to be focused. There were no excuses. When we said we're going to have a meeting on Thursday night, there were not a lot of excuses like, oh, I'm going to be busy. No, you're not.
Yeah. I remember when the pandemic started and just talking to people on the streams, this one I didn't start till I think it was May officially, but I was working with actually Mike Lopez. I don't know if he's still watching, but we were doing In Credit Chat because we were supposed to have a show. We put on a show called In Credit Con. And when it ended, we said, let's do In Credit Chat. And this way we can talk to people and, who were going to be at the show and others that we couldn't have gotten at the show and stuff. And one of the things we would talk about is how this is the time that we're all locked away to create something. If you wanted to learn animation, learn to animate, put it up on YouTube. You want to make a comic, learn to make a comic. You want to write. This is the time. And a lot of people I know just pushed work out. Unfortunately, I wasn't one of them. But that was there were other reasons for that. But it's no, you're right. No one should have had an excuse this time, and it was great. And you see, based on, I guess this really is a pandemic comic in a way where everyone was able to focus and put everything together, and nobody was late with stuff, right? Everybody stayed on schedule. Or were there any issues?
That's true, but I'm actually the worst of the lot. I am. So we started this comic, right? And I was supposed to do 8 pages. This was my promise to Buddy. And then we started this whole comic, anthology. And I ended up project managing most of it because I have a background in that.
Yeah.
I hate it, but I do it when it's needed. And so I was kind of helping put this whole thing together. And we got to 2 steps to the end. And I was like, I haven't done anything on my own. I've been too busy helping everybody else. Ooh. So luckily, Ari had this great idea of doing flash fiction. So we have several flash fiction pieces, which are, the short stories.
Yes.
With illustrations, and I was able to submit for that. So okay. I am submitting this year. I step back from the sort of project management side, but the community has grown so much in the year that, we started this, that we have a lot more people volunteering now for positions and helping out in sort of the back end, which sort of lets us, put pen to paper more often, I think. So we're doing really great there.
That's great. Let me ask you, with this, you mentioned you're doing another one. We're going to look at this one in a moment, but was there a theme to this anthology? Is there going to be a theme to the next one? How you work it? Is it anything goes?
I'm voluntolding Buddy to do this one.
We really wanted to make sure that we left the field as wide open as possible. So we didn't really ask people to have a theme as much as we said, don't bring anything that's in the can, create your own characters and own your own intellectual property. And we took a very open-minded stance. We were not rejecting people on quality, because quality is certainly subjective. But especially Ari, we really insisted that they had to turn out the best version of their own work. And this, spelling and grammar and lettering, everything had to be buttoned up. So you had to just be the best version of yourself. And I think that worked for us. And obviously for the next one, we're going to change things a little bit from our own learning. But we did focus on 8 pages as our lockup, because that's a normal page count for an anthology piece.
Yeah.
And then we didn't want to have any sense of, we're going to pick our best stories and put them up front. we quite literally just sorted them alphabetically in Excel, and that's how we made our table of contents. We wanted to leave it up to you, the reader, to decide what you liked. And I think in the end, it turned out to be the right decision for this first anthology, which of course is called Creator Connections Panel 1, because it's literally where you start when you're doing a comic book.
Yeah. Well, let me bring that up. Let me share my screen here so we can see the audience. And why is my share screen button not showing? Give me one. Oh, there it goes. Share screen. And I'll go to application window. All right. Now, just so you guys know, I'm going to be looking down on my Cintiq. So if I'm looking down, I'm not ignoring you guys. It's just my biggest monitor that I have, so I'll see this better. So this is the first Creator Connection Panel 1 2020, and 13 original 8-page challenge plus some fan fiction. So these are just some of the comics in there. This is not these all don't belong to the same story, obviously.
And as you look at the cover, I think, Michael, one thing I'd like to point out is you know, the way I set up comic book school and the way I structured everything was extremely democratic, and I think that was important to me. Like, I didn't want this to be a top-down, I'm telling you what to do. I wanted this to be shared, and you know, Ari and Dee really stepped up to be partners and made sure that we created a great product. We did everything from elect what the name was, and then even voted on what the aesthetic of the cover was. And I think that was a lot of what made this so special for so many people. Like, it wasn't just, we didn't talk at people. We didn't just say this is what it's going to be. We pulled up some old covers like I think this is most closely resembles Dark Horse Presents, but we pulled up old anthologies and we're like, what do you guys like? And then we played with different logos. What do you like? And I think that really helps when you put something like this together. Right, Dee? Ari, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that going with that kind of format that like Dark Horse Presents or you know, something like that was really good. It gives you, it feels like a comic book, like it feels like something that we remember, and yeah, no one gets like prominence or anything. It's a bunch of different shots of from different stories, and I think altogether, each one of those, the 4 main ones and the 4 across the top, are each from different stories in the book. So it's really as many as could fit. You know, it was as fair as possible.
Okay. Let me ask you also. I'm sorry. Oh, Buddy, I want to ask you. You sent me a link. Is this a free link I can share with everybody? A way to get a copy of this, or is this something
it's free, but you should put your credit card number, social security, and home address in there, Michael. It's
just you, Michael, not everyone else.
You. It's free for everybody else.
All right.
And Venmo me money. I like saying Venmo me because it sounds good. No, yeah, that link is for people to get a free download. Yeah.
So you guys, I'm going to put this all. We're on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube at the moment. So this will go to all of them.
We're on Twitch.
Twitch.
I've never been on Twitch. Have you guys ever been on Twitch before?
We were on when we were on Nerds of the Round. They were.
Oh, we were on Twitch.
They do all three also. They do all three also. I see them in the comments. What's up, guys?
Yeah, they said hi, guys. I wanted to say hi. I don't know which one of you guys are watching.
Nerds of the Round.
But you guys are awesome. So thanks for tuning in. So
just a side note, if you do download it and it looks a little bit different than Michael's, that's okay. He got the press kit version. So there were some changes to the cover, but the comics inside are all the same, I promise.
Oh, Michael, that's the rare variant, republished edition. Yeah,
a lot of
press
money.
Kit only.
Mm-hmm.
So oops, let me get to the right monitor here. Hold on, wrong monitor. There we go. One day I'll get it right. So this is all the credits here, and these are all the comics.
And it's worth noting that on the website and the link that you shared, Michael, each of the creative teams got a landing page on the Comic Book School webpage. Not everybody has a website. right? And we wanted to make it easy for them to be able to share it. So it highlights their story. It gives a little blurb about what it is, and then it links to the free download and to explain where to get it. Listen, not everybody has the time or the interest in setting that up. So we wanted to really make sure that they had a little place that was their own. And again, everyone got to own their own copyright and their intellectual property. So you'll hopefully someone, I think more than one someone, you'll see them again soon. And hopefully, their characters will go far with them.
That's great. Let me ask you before I go on, because it is called Creator Connection, are all these people who met, whether it was online at the cons, are they different writers with artists, or anybody do this all by themselves, do the whole process?
Yeah, there were at least 3 or so that did it all by themselves.
Okay.
Most of them are collaborations, but there are at least about 3, I think, who did all of it by themselves.
And there was a couple of people we just wrangled on social media, like Kevin. Kevin became one of our officers in the organization, and I wrangled him on Twitter. I trolled him and said come and join, and he did. And we just met people along the way, and they joined us for the journey, Michael.
And some people met in the forums, and some people brought other people they knew into the forums with them. So there was a point at which we had a couple people who said, "Hey, I don't really have an artist," and somebody said, "Oh, I know a guy," and then brought them in.
That's
and so it was a very much a larger extension of the Creative Connection panels.
Yeah, we got one from New Zealand, a couple from Europe, right? So we had some people bring people who had the other people.
Now I'm gonna look if there's any
people.
Artists, any of the artists from like Europe or anything, or is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like to look and see if I can tell who the European artists are. So
it's I'm trying to look at.
Yeah, Cam Ridden is the European. Cam Ridden, and which one did Andres do?
I'm looking for Andres too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm moving ahead a little bit. Sorry.
Let
me go back. Let me go back.
People log into some of the meetings from Greece, from Australia, from there was a couple people from South America. I'm not sure which countries exactly, but we had people from all over.
We got the people, Michael.
We definitely did here. I'm gonna just kind of. Yeah, I was trying to figure this out. It's been a while since I've done this. Do you guys remember how to get like the window up that allows me to see the pages?
It's that little arrow on the left side.
No, we see the anthology fine.
No,
and it's a single. No, we don't do We didn't do a side by side. Yeah.
No, but I could on this one.
Oh, you can. You mean do a 2 up?
No, I could do. So I can just kind of scroll.
Yeah, you see the pages at the top. The page
right
on top of the page. Yep.
I thought that was copy, but okay, maybe. Oh, you're right. There we go. This way, it's
Aaron,
quicker to scroll.
Listen, I've been in and out of Acrobat editing this thing for the last year, so I know where all the buttons are.
Aaron can land a plane remotely.
I'm not there yet. I'm close. My dad would argue.
I want to skip it, but this is one of the ones that I just the first one here, really enjoyed the style that was in here when I saw this. And this one here. I mean, I'm not going to give all my personal, because like I said, I haven't read them all, but I'm just super impressed by the quality of work that came. So you said this one's one of the Europe, and I can see that European artists. There was one that really stood out.
The writers from Boston and the artist is European on that one.
I'm trying to find the one that really stood out to me here. I love this page, how everything just is left in a penciled form.
That's our man Rob.
Yep.
That's actually Rob.
This one I really loved in color and the way they used the color palette here. Kind of reminded me of what's that book? Oh God, I can't remember now. I think it was an Image book that came out a few years back. Kind of like this barbarian type of character. I don't remember now. I think it was Image.
Yeah, that was a story I did with Andy Seibert. It was based on a character called Midlife Crisis that we were working on, and Andy wanted to do his own thing, so I outlined a story for him, and he just wanted to try to do a challenge of no word balloons in that story.
That's great, though. I love when you can see through pantomime and see if you can understand it. That's the sign of a great artist.
I was going to say a pretty good writer too, but you.
I was getting there. Don't worry.
That's all right. I'll go there for you.
Pat yourself on the back, buddy. You did good. You did good.
Yeah.
I'll always bring it back to me, Aaron.
I know you will.
Uh-huh.
Don't worry. I was going to mention you. This is fantastic. This is just gorgeous to look at, though. And then you come to this one. You go from such a kind of dull coloring, where the contrast of the blacks there really kind of helped the page with the coloring, to something super bright.
Yeah, we love the diversity of all the storytelling. You've got, futuristic, you've got retro, you've got high fantasy, you've got dreamlike, you've got autobiographical, you got superheroes. I mean, we really cover the gamut. It wasn't intentional. We wish we could take credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about it, it's like it was just good fortune that there was so much in there for everybody. And this is Ari's.
The styles are just as diverse as the story content. And so we just hit, there's something for everyone in this book because we hit every note.
Yeah, the one thing that's interesting is that we've been on a number of these shows. Each host has kind of identified the one that they wanted to focus on or the one that was their favorite, and they've all chosen different ones, so it just speaks both to diversity and to the quality, and that there is something in there for everyone and there's something good for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this cover, I always enjoyed this. Just the font they chose. So many great things going on in here. And then they kept it black and white.
And what you'll see, Michael, is even our learning process. We always wanted to have an interstitial break page to make sure that it was clear when one story ended, and then to really curate the next story. We wanted it to be special. Like those break pages were important to us, and we wanted to make sure that people could go to their websites or wherever they wanted to go. But then some of the creators took it one step further and actually created a cover. So you'll see in the next anthology that is incorporated in there. And by the time you get to Flash Fiction, you'll quite literally see us just evolving to the talent of the teams. This is something that Ari brought in we didn't even know about. Well, maybe Aaron did, maybe Dee did, but I didn't know about it.
I learned the whole thing from Ari.
Yeah, I learned everything from Ari.
Everything. Yeah, that's it. Even the stuff you taught me, it's like one of those retroactive timey-wimey things, right?
That's right.
I sort of that, right? You were reteaching it.
That's right.
From the end. Yeah, no, the Flash Fiction, we had, I was taking a class in Ray Bradbury and creative storytelling over the summer.
Oh, wow.
While I was stuck at home with Sam Weller, who's Ray Bradbury's biographer, and he's a Bram Stoker winner himself. The Bram Stoker Awards from the Horror Writers Association. And I noticed that a lot of Bradbury's early stuff, like if you look at the stuff that's in you look at October Country, which is his old Gothic stuff, is accompanied by a single full-page illustration. And a lot of the old sci-fi pulps had those great old sci-fi illustrations along with the prose writing. And I went to Buddy and I said, as long as we're doing this, then you think maybe we could put in a Flash Fiction, maybe not full 20-page prose short stories, but a Flash Fiction with a single illustration be a way to get more people in, give it a little bit of a different kind of story in there, and to showcase the writing and the artists in a different way. Because one thing that I like about the Flash Fiction pieces is that when you do a comic, and someone who writes in both prose and in comics, when you do a comic, it's like page 1, panel 1, this is what happens in the page and that kind of thing. And then you might go back and change the dialogue or whatever. And the Flash Fiction one, the writer wrote the story and the artist kind of had free reign to illustrate whatever they felt like from the story. So it's really a different kind of a process, and it showcases each one in a different way than a comic story would.
Yeah, I think it widened our understanding of what a good anthology can be, Michael. We didn't know what this would bring, and yet it really added another dimension, and will be featured in the next anthology. And I think as long as you're willing to be agile and creative and receptive to other people's ideas, you'll get a piece like this. But had we been rigid and had a strictly defined definition of what we wanted, we would have never been able to achieve this. This was definitely a community-driven project.
And the thing is, like, if you look at Watchmen or something, there's those little prose interludes that go in between. I've been doing some research into some Golden Age comics for the next anthology afterwards, and downloading some of the old titles and flipping through them. A lot of them had prose stories in between. It's like you get a Blue Beetle comic and then you get a little prose story about what's going on, or one of those things. So it's something that has been a part of the comics world in the past that you don't maybe see as much anymore, but there's no reason why you shouldn't.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and to be honest, I'm actually a fan of all those great old Golden Age books. I'm a huge in the comic world. For me, it's Golden and Silver Age are like the books I truly love. I'm that. Although I grew up, I guess would be considered the Bronze Age. I started collecting in like '89 into, that era. But when I started collecting and learning about the older comics, I always leaned to the Golden and Silver Age stuff. I just love them so much. Even behind me, I don't know if you can see, but are my Marvel Masterworks, my DC Archives,
I was actually looking at that. I would love to know what you have all on your wall, because I was just...
See that full screen, Michael. Come on.
You want me? Hold on. I'll get out of the way. I'll move.
You have the art displayed right now. You only have you're in a thumbnail.
Yeah, you're in a little tiny...
Oh, hold on. Sorry. I'll make myself large. I'm sorry.
Go big or go home. Oh, you are home.
So
nice.
So let's start over here. I got
superpowers. I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are Jose Garcia Lopez prints. I got actually at there was a show at that what was it called? Superheroes for Hospice. Yeah. And they would sell stuff for cheap and donate after, and they had them for like $1 or $2 a piece. So I got a bunch.
Wow.
So I got over there as we go around.
Fantastic.
Thank you. And now my head's cutting into it. I'll go to the other side.
What is that? A Conan piece?
That piece.
Frazetta?
It's a Frazetta Fire and Ice.
Oh.
And I do have a few more. I got that actually at the Frazetta Museum.
Wow.
And I got to talk with his daughter-in-law and grandson. Really nice people there.
Oh, and I see your hardcovers there behind you. Spirit. It looks like Caesar right there.
Yeah. So I'll zoom in a little bit there.
Animal Man, New Frontier. Good stuff.
Yeah. Contract with God. What do I got there? The New Gods collection.
Well, you passed the test.
Yeah.
Contract with God is one of my favorite. Yeah.
And if there's any, I know I got lights there right now going on, and this is my other side that I'm looking at when I see you guys. So there's really no lights there. But
you got Tex Avery's Red Hot Riding Hood.
Yes, I got the whole. It's the whole dance cycle behind her.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was when I saw that. I found that on eBay, and I'm like, I have to have it. Up there's an original Serge Aragonés of a brew piece I got with the minstrel.
Nice.
You got a nice setup here, huh?
Thank you. Yeah, and then I got some Hanna-Barbera. That's a print of the last Calvin and Hobbes.
Nice.
Aww.
Yeah. So that's basically the studio tour for the most part without going into a lot of detail. And now I'll find my camera.
Without going into a lot of detail. That was awesome, man.
Yeah, thank you. I got a lot of stuff. I will actually be taking that Woody Woodpecker piece down. I love it a lot, but I want to get a... I've always had I don't know if they make it, but I've always wanted like a print of like a cover to Crisis on Infinite Earths. That was the book that got me into collecting comic books back in 80. My cousin had the books, and I just read like comic strips out of the newspaper. Once in a while, I had a comic book, but my cousin had them. I was staying over, and I just read through them, and I'm like, and I knew who those characters were from. Well, some of them from Saturday morning cartoons. So I've just always wanted to print. I've always loved the Crisis on Infinite Earth.
That is a hell of a book to start your comic book reading career in, Michael.
Basically, yeah, I know. I didn't realize, but I always loved Superman. It's always he's Superman. I'm a DC guy. Superman, Dr. Fate, Green Lantern. Those are like my guys. Nightwing, and yeah. But that was really the book that started it for me to say I want to collect superhero books.
Joe Ryan gave you the shout out, man, right there in the comments.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Stellar collection. Thank you very much.
Joe, let's find his address.
Buddy, I'm counting on you to get me that Red Hot Riding Hood.
Listen, I'm looking out for you. Ari, let me know if you need anything.
Oh, yeah,
Do you need anything, you guys?
I like all that Will Eisner stuff.
Are you a Hanna-Barbera fan? You need some pop figures, Hanna-Barbera pops or anything?
No, I think she's taking the Red Riding
The Red
Riding Hood.
Yeah. And the Lord of the Rings stuff. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if I've showed this before. I got my wedding ring actually looks like the Lord of the Rings ring.
Oh, that's awesome.
Get it onto the.
Oh wow, yeah. I can give you the full screen. Give me a second. Let me give you the.
You win, Ari.
Yeah.
This is the nerdiest thing that I have.
That is so cool.
That is nerd cred.
So that is nerd cred. Yeah.
The thing is that
Where did Ari go? He just turned invisible.
Well, no. Here's the thing. So I went and I said I can't put what's actually on the ring on the wedding ring because it's not really appropriate for a wedding. So I got my name and my wife's name and the date transliterated and I put it on. The thing is again, because this is what happens to writers. Douglas Adams talked about this all the time. You think of the right thing, as I said, 2 weeks later. And 2 weeks after I was like, you know what I should have put on it was 2 rings to bind them. That would have been like the best thing, that would perfect thing to put on it. But so my wife says, you should just tell people it says that anyway. And I said, no, because too many people I know anybody who'd be interested in asking could probably actually read it themselves. Or too many people that I used to have students, because in my day job, a high school teacher, I used to have students who took notes in Elvish. Like they noticed that they'd ask me if they could take notes using Tolkien's Ruins. I'd be like, I'd be thrilled because, at least they're taking notes. No one else in the class is doing that. So,
that's cool.
Whatever language they want to do is fine. But yeah, too many people would be able to read it and say, no, that doesn't say 2 rings to bind them. That says, Ari and Angela and, August 1st, 2010, but that doesn't.
I just wonder about your students who took notes in Elvish. Did they do it because they wanted to do Elvish, or did they do it because they didn't want anyone else reading their notes?
They did it because they saw that my wedding ring was a Lord of the Rings ring, and they felt like, kindred nerdy spirit, and they wanted to show off, and that's how kids are. These are the same kids that on Pirate versus Ninja Day would wait outside of the classroom dressed as ninjas and dive roll into the room at the bell. And, this is what happened. I used to teach at Bronx Science years ago, and like this is what would happen in a place like that. You get a higher proportion, as you might imagine, of people into these kinds of things.
I just love that you can support nerds that way now. Like if we'd have done that when I was in grade school, they'd have been like, no, write it in English, you weirdo.
Yeah, but it depends on where you are, because I've been first in Bronx Science and then in the Columbia Secondary School. It's kind of a self-selecting population. When the way, I don't want to get into high school admissions and how that works and everything, but it's basically a self-selecting process. You have a much higher percentage than you otherwise normally would, in addition to the popularity growing and all of that, becoming more mainstream and all that kind of thing.
Well, I think that's great. Number one about your ring, because I'll be honest, I don't even wear my wedding ring. I don't like jewelry, so I don't have anything on. The most I have is my arm brace that I need. That's it. And I love that you got it in Elvish. All I got is the ring. I keep on.
So it's not Elvish. I'm not going to. We'll get into that.
Oh yeah, no, it's the ring from.
Yeah,
it's a replica. Yeah, that's what I mean. But anyway, let's move on. We can get off Tolkien for a bit. Maybe I'll have you back on, and I want to do a Tolkien night anyway one night. So you'll definitely be someone
definitely.
You're going to call that episode "Talking Tolkien"? That's the?
Isn't that a podcast already? I think.
Is that really?
I think in Elvish, yeah.
Talking Tolkien. And here I thought I was so original.
But you know what? If it's not, it definitely should be.
I agree.
Yeah, I think.
Copyright it now, buddy.
No, you copyright it. You're smarter.
So, okay, let's get back to this. I almost lost my train of thought for a second. Buddy, you just posted something in the private chat for me. I can share that. That correct?
Yeah, and it basically it's a link. I don't even know if you want to put it up on a web page or something, but
well,
that's
I'll share it on my Facebook page as well. But I'm going to put it in the comments right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you go. That is if people are interested in learning about our currently running challenge, if they want to participate in the next 8-page challenge. And I think we're still looking at the art.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Do you want to pull up the web page, or?
I'm doing that right now. I'm just
okay.
I'm just creating a new document.
Look at the way Erin. Look at the way Erin is. Let's see if I can get a screenshot of that.
Oh, well, oh my God! I didn't even realize you were blocked by my logo. I'm so sorry.
She's animated herself.
Let me do me a favor.
She's on full tune.
I do apologize. I did not realize that you were being blocked by that. So I'm going to take off my banner for a moment. So
okay, I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. No, I feel bad. You shouldn't be blocked. Let me just take it off for a little bit.
There you go.
There you go. Let's see that. All right. Let me stop the share, and let me reshare now. And now we need this one right here. Oops, let me go to here. 8-page challenge 2. So this is the new challenge. Let me get on the right monitor here. And number 2. So creators are ready to take the first step in becoming a comic book professional. And here are the different pieces. Now, I'm having issues playing sound. I'm going to try to play the video, okay? Let me see.
That's a full webcast.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I thought it was a short video. Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, well, you could play it. It's only like 2 hours. Basically, this is the idea. This gets people.
So you can play it if you want, but.
This gives people background where they can download the first anthology, how they can learn about what they're getting into, a little bit of detail that, they'll own all of their own work, and then just guiding them to go check out the message boards and forums to get people involved. And, you can get involved, Michael, you can get your friends involved, you can get people that you don't even like involved. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's the best starting point, step 0.
So if I click on step 0, orientation, and did it change, or was that step 0?
No, I kind of linked it back to itself. You can click on step 1. Step 1's good too. I'll fix that later.
Story ideas. So this is
my day job's web design.
So here's something from an Avengers story.
So as Ari had mentioned in the beginning, this is a story that I wrote. That's the issue it's published in. It's an Avengers Assembles story. And what we do is we use this particular story, Michael, throughout the entire challenge. We show how I broke down the plot to pitch my editor, how we break down the story, how we go to pencils, to inks, to colors, to letters. And since it's something that people go out and buy, you can see the cover right there, it gives them some sense of how a short story would run in an anthology. And that was the best thing we could do because, as Ari said, we had my editor, Darren Sanchez, we had the artist, Ron Lim. We were able to pull a lot of those people together for some of our live chats.
Wow, very nice. And when you do these live chats, I'm assuming this is what, through Zoom or something, or is this a YouTube? How do you do it?
We started off on Google Hangouts, but it was a little unruly sometimes. Sometimes Dee doesn't want to stop talking, and she just keeps talking over me, and none of that's true, actually. We did start off on Google Hangouts, but Rob Anderson helped us to level up, and now we're on StreamYard.
Like that. All right, good. That's why you guys had all great equipment tonight. No issues, no nothing.
Yeah, Rob got us into shape.
So this is fantastic, though. And then one last thought of getting feedback. So has this started yet? Have people already started submitting, or?
Dee, jump in.
Yeah, so we basically run by a calendar. It's not absolute. Like, obviously, you can jump in and catch up, or if you have a birthday party, or you get overworked and you need to catch up or miss a due late or whatever. The only people you have to be accountable to is your team. Making sure that you're hitting your deadlines to pass it off to whoever is working on it next. We had the orientation start in February, and we did actually move it back a bit because we had some confusion about teams, but we're on a roll now. We're into step 2, which is plotting after story ideas. We do have a couple teams still forming, getting artists and colorists and things prepared for their steps, but we have a full-on calendar on the site and in Google Calendars that you can sign up for and get alerts and updates. And then we have a monthly meeting for the entire community that we do, like you do here on StreamYard and in the YouTube channel and Facebook and a couple other places, where we just talk about kind of what we're doing in the community and what the process is and what steps we're on. And then, like A. Rubin said, we also have guest speakers, and those will you'll start seeing more of those on the calendar in the next month or two. Basically, it's an all-in. Like, if you don't get in or you don't feel like you have the time to jump into the 8-page challenge, Flash Fiction is still available, and that doesn't start right away. So you have more time to kind of join and take a look at the community and see how you want to participate. If you don't want to participate this year, that's fine. By all means, still join up and look at the calendar and watch everybody and give feedback and be part of the community. And then you kind of know what to expect if you want to jump on next year, or if you just want to join in as a Flash Fiction contributor. Okay. So we're always happy to have more people jump in.
Let me ask you. So
it's not actually too late to sign up now, even though we're in step 2. It's really still very early in the process, right? So you just had step 1 was just saying what your story idea was. I have a story. We have a prompt this time around the time in. So I have a story like such and such happens at this time, just basically a paragraph story. And then step 2 is really your plot of what happens in the story. Nothing's even scripted out yet in terms of even the pages. It's just like saying on page 1 this happens, on page 2 this, how you're going to do that. So it's really still very early on in the process. Like, most writers I know will be able to do that step 1, step 2 fairly quickly and get in. And for the artists, we are always looking for artists. As you know, there are always more writers than artists out there. So if an artist wants to jump in, an artist can jump in at any point, even up until when we start the pencils on the calendar, probably about a month away, because there will be a writer looking to work with you. So there's still plenty of time to jump in. Colorists, letterers, we always need letterers. I remember Buddy always points to the letterers at the panels, at the Creator Connection panels, and says, these are the unicorns. Like, everybody go and meet the letterers. So there is plenty of time for everyone to jump in, and especially for people who are later on in the process of making a book, there's even more time to jump in. And as I mentioned, the Flash Fiction Challenge doesn't actually officially get started until April. So if you are a writer and you missed the whole initial few steps, you can still get in this year by writing some prose for the Flash Fiction section and get something published there as well.
That's fantastic.
Because it is a volunteer thing, a lot of times we have people who say, oh yeah, I'm totally in. And then, for whatever reason, maybe there's a death in the family. Maybe they get a new job. Maybe they end up moving. There's a million things that could happen. Last year alone, I mean, there were things we never could have anticipated. So, join up. And if somebody else needs help, there's always, an opportunity to step in and help out, even if you're not in there from the beginning. We're happy to just get feedback from other people and just have more people in the community, because the more voices and the more diversity we have, the better our stories become.
No, that's great. Is there okay, so right now you've already started, but like, if I want to say I had an idea for an 8-page comic and I said, I'm gonna sign up tomorrow and I'm gonna give you my what is it, the idea, then the plot or whatever, I can start. When is the end date that you guys say we need everything for? Do you have?
We should have that handy.
September. Yeah, sometime in September, right?
Okay. No, I'm just curious for people who, I'm not even asking for me, but like artists that I have watching, or writers or whatever, and they want to, they want to say, okay, think about it. They still have some time to think about it, as long, because they're only drawing 8 pages. Now I know as an artist that could take some time depending on life schedules, but
yeah, September 12th is the final completion date, and when everything is said and done. And the idea was, and still is, that it would be ready for New York Comic Con. Now, whether or not there's a real New York Comic Con or a virtual Comic Con or whatever, we are still working toward that. In fact, the original title from the first anthology was The Road to NYCC. And, we just wanted people to be ready. So this will get there. I don't know if you scroll all the way down on that page, Michael, I think it shows the calendar as well. It might have it. I'm hoping it does.
Yep,
there you go.
right here.
So what happens is if you sign up, we have a little submission form to get started. In that orientation, we tell you what to look for. You get subscribed to the calendar. You get alerts. You get the newsletter. You get the Ginsu knives. You get a little bit of everything.
All right, yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to definitely share this on my Facebook, not just on my Get in Tune Facebook page, but also my personal Facebook page, because I do know there are some people that I'm friends with who don't necessarily watch Get in Tune that I think this would be great for. And I have a bunch of friends, literally a bunch of friends who would probably, jump at the chance to do so, whether they work on their own story or send to you, or just say I'm an artist and I'm looking to get published or something, So I think this is great. I'll share this on my Instagram and everywhere I can for you. Twitter. This is
just one quick note. I know we kind of mentioned it in passing, but this year, just to change it up, we do have a theme. So this year,
you do.
The Time In. We did not have a theme last year, but we do have one this year. We're trying it out, see how we like it. I know some other anthologies do that, but the anthology is Time In spelled INN, as in a motel or hotel. So it doesn't have to necessarily be of any genre or of any style. It just has to somehow incorporate a time in. So we've got a lot of really interesting ideas already being posted to the forums, and I'm really interested to see how they all turn out. So
interesting.
We wanted to give people enough latitude that they could be creative, Michael, but we also wanted to have it lock up in some way. So it could be a sign in the background. It could be about time travel. We actually kept it purposely that vague. That's literally the prompt, the time in. That's it.
I'm just thinking in my head, I have ideas already. I'm one of those guys that just kind of pops in. I'm already starting to work in my head. So who knows if I'm going to do it. I'll be honest, the way my arm is right now, I was diagnosed last week with golfer's elbow. I don't know if you guys know about that. It's the opposite of tennis elbow. Instead of having the pain on the outside, it's on the inside. So there's a problem with my wrist or hand that the muscle's actually connected to the elbow, and that's why I feel the pain in my elbow. So I'm wearing this, and I'm putting a gel on and doing all this.
Golfer's elbow?
Yeah, because of the way they swing. I guess it's how I hold the pencil or my mouse or whatever I do. And when I work, you're basically seeing where I work. I was leaning on my Cintiq doing this right now, so I'm here all the time. The way I draw, move my arm, it's always kind of in that golfer's, I guess, the same way they move it. So,
well, if somebody had a golf course nearby, we could somehow fit that into the conversation.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know anyone who lives in a retirement community off of the first hole of a golf course. Oh no, wait.
Is that you? I think that might be you.
Really?
That's you.
We
also, I think, Michael, I also think that is a poorly named thing. You were like, it's the opposite of tennis elbow, which would actually be, as you moved your arm, your elbow felt great.
Yeah.
Like that's the real opposite of tennis elbow.
I meant the opposite positioning. I'm sorry.
I feel great.
Yeah, No, it stinks. I take this thing off a few times a day. It's like I got this permanent, indentation in my arm with the pattern and everything. It's fun.
I had an issue similar to that with I had pain under my collarbone.
Ooh.
Because I was sitting really low on a desk at work, and I would move my mouse only from my elbow up. And so I was bracing this part of my arm, but never moving it. So I wasn't moving any of the upper, so it was just locked in position. So I got like a muscle spasm underneath my collarbone. And I had to go to the doctor, and they were like, what do you do for work? And I'm like, I just move a mouse. I'm like, was literally
And what was that? Was that like hockey elbow at this point? I mean, what was that malady?
I just called it my shoulder locked up, but I'm sure they had some crazy, like, it's athleticism shoulder, or it's like
cricket elbow,
collarbone. I don't know. Yeah. But they basically said, you need to learn to move your, because I was
curling
elbow.
She had curling elbow.
Curling elbow.
All the curlers get it.
I just want to say Joe Ryan's commented that he has a few ideas already. Sounds awesome. And Timon, what a cool concept. And so,
thanks, Joe.
Yeah. I assume, Joe, you're going to sign up, I hope. I hope that a lot of people do.
Yeah.
You guys, I just want to make sure I'm on the right screen. Sorry. Yeah, I got three. Like I said, I have 3 monitors going on, and I never know where my mouse is. This is great, though. I mean, even is this link? If I went to this later, whoops. If I go back just real quick, and I come to this page, all the steps are eventually going to be laid out here. So even if I don't participate, can I read them so I can know later? You might just have a different theme.
Yeah, and actually, if you scroll down to the bottom there and it shows you the recent posts, you could click on any of those. He's had step 7 over there.
You can see the creative prompt right there.
You can see, any of them.
The road.
Because we're using, these have already been created for the first anthology, and they apply to any of the anthologies going forward. So, you could read through all of Buddy's blog posts, see all of the examples, and it's an online course in and of itself.
Yeah,
just
for free.
For free, I was about to say, and
we don't charge you for it. We just ask that you contribute. That's it.
All right, this is fantastic. I've been on this site before, but it's been a while since I've been on it. It looks updated since the last time I've been on it too. And
yeah, we're always working on it.
It's great. Now, this publisher guidelines, that's for this here, I'm assuming, right?
No, click on that.
Okay.
Click on that. What I do is I maintain, keep scrolling. I maintain as many submission guidelines for as many publishers as I can keep track of. You keep going. And it is, I think, the most up-to-date resource that you can find. And I sort them. You can see those are mid-level publishers. If you keep going down, we get into the indies. And then I try to list a link. I try to list their social media, the kind of books they put out. And I try to keep that up to date. And that's just a labor of love, because I really feel like people, this is an easy way for them to go and do their research. They want to find a publisher. They don't have to Google it constantly. They could just keep clicking and opening windows. And that's something that I maintain just out of pure love for our community, just want them to find published their way to published work.
No, that's great, because there's even a few titles on here I never even heard of. So it's good to know these things here.
Buddy is a fountain of comic book knowledge and comic book related knowledge. And I don't like to puff up his ego too much, but he's got a lot of knowledge in there that he loves to share with people, and he doesn't charge you for it. He doesn't, make you, sit down and take it on his time, on his terms. He just gives it to you, because that's the kind of guy he is.
Even if you don't want it. By the way, I didn't realize this list had gotten so long. I mean,
it is.
It's been a long time since I've looked at it. I usually just go in there, find something alphabetically. I'm like, oh, there's really a lot up there, huh?
Yeah, you do have a lot.
This is like the only thing of its kind. It's the most complete one on the internet.
Yeah.
Wow.
So at least that's available for free, because, I told you I write in prose and in poetry also, and you could go to Do a Trope or Submission Grinder or any number of sites that make poets and writers, has a huge database of literary magazines, different places you could submit stories to, and some of them accept comics, but it's mostly for literary magazines and that type of thing. The Science Fiction Writers Association has their own list of markets, and the horror writers, like they all do. But there's really nothing else like this for comics, where you could have like a one-stop shop where you could find all the publishers in one place. link to their guidelines like this.
This is awesome. Who
this
made
is
this? This is
this is
genius.
great. I have to be honest with you. I didn't even know slave labor was still still publishing.
Click the link. See if it's still an active
Let's
link.
open a new tab so I don't lose
guess.
the page.
I don't even know.
I mean, I used to read. I don't know. I don't want to touch anything right now. Security compatible with browser. Yeah, I'll do this another time. I'll do this on a different. I don't know what I'm going to do here, so I'll do this in another browser. But yeah, no, I mean, I
hire you, Michael, to QC the site. You're doing great.
Yeah. Yeah, you could quality control. You could do a click through for us, see if I have any broken links.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. So many indie publishers come and go.
Yeah.
That I probably have a few that aren't even around anymore.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm happy to look them, but I just remember back in the late '90s. I was a big early 2000 big slave labor fan. Almost any.
Yeah, I love their stuff. They did a lot of good work.
Yeah. So yeah, they had a lot of fun stuff. I think the last thing I read from them was the Gargoyles comic when they brought that back.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, no, there's a few there. Like I said, I haven't heard of before. I forgot where they were though. I have to go through it. This is really cool. I mean, anybody out there watching, this page alone is just worth the trip to the website, I think, but seriously, you guys, anybody watching, whether you're live or if you're watching this afterwards, I think you need to sign up for this anthology here, especially if you're an artist. Every writer needs artists, and this is a great place to meet them. Like I said, I've been part of your Creator Connection panel in two different ways. One, I've been in the audience. I did that for 2 years, and I met a bunch of people. Some I'm still in contact with, and one I actually got to sat on the panel and look at work when I was with Pronto Comics, and it's great to see it from the two different sides. But you just meet so many awesome people. So many people have a passion for comics, and they don't know where to begin. And having you create this for them, I just think is a great, fantastic thing that, I don't know how many other people would do it, at least for nothing,
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And this just goes to show about how much you love comics yourself, and how much you just want to share it. You just do this for the love of it.
Yeah, we're drawn to comics, and it makes no sense, Michael. I mean, there's something, once it gets into your DNA, it's stuck there, and it's hard to explain. It's hard for other people to really understand.
Mm-hmm.
But we are definitely a tribe, and we have to stick together and look out for each other. And it's a very accessible industry, even aside from maybe the tippy top creators, comics maintains its ability to, you can still meet your heroes. Like Ari saying, he was still able to get up and meet Neil Gaiman. You can go to a con and still meet people. We're all still very accessible. And I think that's one of the things that makes comics so nice. You can reach your heroes. It's not like other industries where you're separated from them with barriers and people, and, yeah, we're lucky to have people like you too, Michael, who draw a spotlight and take your time to help draw attention to projects or people who are doing interesting things. So we're grateful for you. We're all part of the same ecosystem.
Thank you. I love what I do, and I love that when I get to create artwork. I love sharing it, but I love doing this. When the pandemic happened, I started this. I got to say, this became super fun for me because I didn't have time before to really see what's out there as much as I wanted to. Now I was exploring the web. I was seeing, this guy's awesome. Let me bring him on. I want to share. So, and you guys have been someone I wanted to chat with for a while, especially you, Buddy, because of Comic Book School. I also know you have a background in publishing in other areas. I don't know if we can talk about that. I didn't ask before, but I do believe I have some books.
Yes. My photo reference books. I thought it was
I
didn't know where you were going.
I didn't want to talk about
those books, Buddy.
Do I? I was young. I was trying to pay for med school.
Whoa! I just knocked my light out of the way here. But yes, if you're talking about these.
Well done. Well done. I love those.
I actually keep these near me almost all the time. Right now I had them sitting on my printer, but they're usually on my drawing table, and I just pull them because I draw mostly digital these days.
Thank you.
I always need reference of people. And I don't like pulling from Google because I never get clear images all the time. So unless I can photograph myself or my wife or someone in the pose I need, these are my go-to books right here. So, yeah.
Hold those up again. I'm going to get a screen shot. Go ahead.
Let me put them in the. Hold on, this way. There
Hold
you
on.
go.
Do it. Wait. Do it again. I forget about your audience. I got to get a picture. There you go.
You got it.
Audience. I need a photo.
Yes, these are great books. And are they? Oh, Joe Ryan says I have your books. They're fantastic reference.
I like this Joe Ryan.
Yeah.
Hire that guy.
Are these still in print?
So it's funny, they are now available digitally. The sad truth was that piracy got so prevalent for a while there that people were downloading the books as fast as we could make them. We put out 6 books with the publisher, and the publisher finally said they're just getting pirated too much. It just didn't make sense economically. I would love to keep doing it. I always enjoyed taking the photos. I quite literally opened comic book pages and would have the models pose in the photos. I'd be like, okay, get in that pose. And that was great fun, and it accelerated comic book school. But sadly, too many people, I don't know who they are, kept torrenting them, and publisher couldn't make money anymore.
Well, I'll tell you, it isn't me. Or it wasn't me.
No, yeah, you obviously have the books. That's
I'm not one to download anything illegally. And
no, and as thanks, Ari, why don't you send Michael a free copy of our anthology today?
As a free copy, yes. We will give you for the same free price. Thank you.
I'll download the other one, so I have the other cover, and then I got both covers now.
You have the variant and the published one.
All right. You guys, I'm gonna wrap up in a moment, but before I go, is there anything else you guys would like to say to the audience or talk about? Anything that I didn't bring up yet?
I have one thing.
Yes.
A charity that we should all be aware of is something called heroinitiative.org.
Mm-hmm.
If maybe we'll put it into the chat. It is for taking care of creators in need, and it raises money by selling original art and does fundraisers. So for people who are us, who want to give back to the creators who created when we were younger, but now do not have pensions or retirement plans or health insurance, heroinitiative.org is a great way of giving back to the creators that meant so much to us.
Yes. I've actually donated to that before in the past. Haven't done it, unfortunately, recently, but it is a great cause. And, I'm putting it in the comments right now. You guys, these people who don't have the artists who need the money from this, or the writers or whoever they are who need the money. These were the guys that, we looked up to, that inspired us to come and create. And, it's one of those things, just a way to say thank you and give a little something back to them. So if you can donate in any way, please do so.
Thank you for that, Michael. We appreciate that.
Thank you. I want to thank you guys for coming on. I really enjoyed this. I'd love to have you all back, especially when you have the other next anthology come out, or any other time you guys want to come on. You've all been great to hang out with and chat with. So you guys, thanks again.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, Michael. We really appreciate it.
And thanks for doing what you're doing. I mean, I loved going through, I've been wanting to finish reading and I haven't had a chance to, but I will finish reading this anthology. I promise. It's been a lot of fun for me. Everybody in the audience, you guys, seriously, download it. Use the link that's on there. Download it. Enjoy. You got 144 pages of fun. That's... And you're getting it for free. How often do you get that? So you guys, thanks again for coming on, and I will see you guys soon. All right. Bye.
Thanks again.
So long. Whoops, brought you back. All right, guys. So thanks for tuning in tonight. I had a great time. This really was fun. I love seeing this type of stuff. You know, this is the type of stuff I love to promote. Tune in on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. when I do my storytelling Saturday, where I'm going to have my buddy Jay Piscopo come on, who is going to talk about public domain and the use of public domain characters in storytelling. All right, so I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in tonight. All right, bye. Where's my camera? Bye, guys.